Hello and welcome to a new video. I'm Vanguard and today we'll be going through my thoughts/review on Finding Paradise. This will be for the most part a spoiler-free review. I was lucky enough to be gifted by a friend a few days ago on what was my most anticipated game to play, and to him I say thank you. And what an experience it was. I played To the Moon several years ago, as most of you guys probably would have as well, so when Finding Paradise was teased I was ecstatic but also a bit fearful. However, you don't need to be. If you enjoyed To the Moon, I can almost guarantee you will like this game. It might not hit as many or as hard emotionally to people as To the Moon did, however it was still a special adventure. I definitely recommend this game for those who love To the Moon, even more so for those who have played A Bird Story for more of a complete experience. Even the newcomers will enjoy this game, but without further ado, let's get right into it. Finding Paradise is an adventure narrative game that was developed and published by Freebird Games. This title serves as a sequel of To the Moon and A Bird Story. Either Rosalene and Neil Watts both return as the main protagonists, who are employees of Sigmund Corporation, tasked with changing a dying patient's memory to fulfill their final wish. This time around, the patient is Colin, the protagonist from A Bird Story. His wish I won't say, but is extremely vague and leaves many questions when told. Playtime is about 3.5 to 5 hours. Now let's talk about the plot. While the basic concept is the same as To the Moon when it comes to changing the memories, the story is different and again, exceptionally unique, something I've never really seen before which I really enjoyed. The game even showed more of how the general population viewed the concept of changing one's memory, which was a bit absent in the first game, giving more of an authentic feel. This time around, romance isn't as relevant. Without being too specific, this game deals with themes of loneliness, coming of age, and internal conflict. It gets much more complicated and personal as the story unfolds with twists and turns. The game gives light on a certain topic that is rarely discussed in the world. The foreshadowing was done well with many unique ways of doing so. For the most part, everything seemed to make sense with minor plot holes and stretches. My main con was one part of the game where you had to search for someone, and I believe it dragged out for a bit too long. And the ending of the game was slightly vague at first, but upon thinking about it a few more times, it did make more sense. The final scenes didn't hit as hard as the first game, but it was extremely emotional nonetheless. The overall game had an interesting, fresh and passionate plot. The main characters in the story would be Eva, Neil, Colin and the people in his life. The return of Eva and Neil was fantastic, nostalgic and hilarious. The comedy in this game actually made me laugh multiple times, which was one of the highlights of the game. This is where, in my opinion, Finding Paradise excelled over To the Moon. I love these two characters and I praise Can Gal and those who have worked on this game for the memorable characters they have created and maintained. It made it feel like no time has passed since 2011. Never did the comedy feel forced. Colin and the other important characters in his life, on the other hand, took me some time to connect to, and I didn't end up as close to these new characters as I was with River and John. This added to the reason why the ending didn't hit as hard as I had wished it to. The reason To the Moon's ending was so powerful was due to the bond that the players built with the characters. I didn't really feel like I knew Colin and the people in his life on a personal level like I did with John. I think this might have been because the memories shown in Colin's life were more relevant to his regrets than important to him, as Eva said in the game. The relevant memories say a lot about Colin, however I would have liked to see a fuller picture of his entire life. Or maybe it was because the memories of Colin wasn't as tragic as John's was in the grand scheme of things. However, the game certainly had a compelling, eye-opening and meaningful conclusion to Colin. Both the story and characters are still deeply memorable. The gameplay of the title is similar to the first game, however with new additions relating to combat and puzzle in forms of minigames. I won't spoil anymore, but this is, for the most part, a step above from the past works of the series with more variety. But some people may be thrown off, as it may seem to feel like they don't have any importance other than extending the gameplay. The visuals, by the way, have improved and is quite pleasing to look at even with pixel graphics. Finally, we'll be talking about the music. Now, I'm no music reviewer expert, however I can say that Finding Paradise's original soundtrack is beautiful. It really touched me at times. There's enough variety of different soundtracks to enjoy, and it always fits and adds to the atmosphere of the setting. I think there was one or two returning soundtracks from previous games with small changes. The pivotal moments of the story always completely immersed me in the game, which was further enhanced with the sound. Now we'll be talking about the spoilers relating to the story. This is your spoiler warning. Skip to the time on the screen now to go to the conclusion. I was really shocked to figure out that Faye was just an imaginary friend. There were multiple hints made throughout the game, such as when Colin and Faye hid from the people on the balcony out of embarrassment, and how no one ever interacted with her besides Colin. And the goodbye scene between the two was heartbreaking, definitely the highlight of the game. And I wonder, since we see Faye with wings in multiple scenes, if Colin created her based on the bird from a bird story, after letting it go to replace its absence. I'm sure this was intentional, and the symbolism behind this makes the story that much more rewarding. However, I will mention one flaw that leads up to the scene. The conflict between Neil and Faye lasted a bit too long for my liking, and how she was portrayed in these scenes made me view her as a creepy, irritating annoyance. I know that was the purpose to stop Neil from making the wrong decision by erasing her, but it was a little too much to the point where I nearly didn't care about her when she left Colin because of the events beforehand. At first glance, the ending was a bit confusing to me. I didn't quite understand it at first. However, the more I thought about it, the more I loved it. Colin wanted to see his dear old friend again, or reflect on himself, which was why he was unhappy. That's why he needed the help from Sigmund. We saw hints of his inabilities to visualize her as it's been so long. Many attempts were made as he stared out into the distance on the balcony, always searching for someone, Faye. In one of the scenes with Sophia, he mentions that it's been a long time since he's written, which possibly showcases his inability to imagine as he once did. By removing Sigmund from his memory, which he thought was his answer, and giving Faye the opportunity to show herself, was what truly made him happy in the end and able to rest in peace. It was certainly an emotional ride as his last moments came to an end with his family. This is something exceptionally special that the game did, where it kept me thinking afterwards. This truly is a fine example of storytelling in a video game. I only wish to see more of his family and get to care more about them. And leaving the final job to Faye, the mental process of Colin was a bit of a stretch, but it worked out fine. But we still have other questions to be answered. What's with Neil's health? What was the thing that Neil, Roxanne, Robert were working on in the very last scene? And I have no idea who the person on the motorbike was. I wish we would have gotten some answers on Neil's health, as it was already teased in the first game. The tension felt a little unnecessary as it didn't go anywhere in this game specifically. I guess it just served as a reminder. Hopefully these questions can be answered in the future. So here's my conclusion. This was another beautiful game about self-conflict and growing up. The characters you grow to love dearly in merely 4 hours, and it was a lovely experience. Gameplay was pretty funny, but nothing beyond mediocrity, because it obviously isn't the focus, so it doesn't really matter, and the music was just as good as ever in my eyes. I mentioned a few minor nitpicks, but honestly I only brought it up because there isn't really much to fault about this game. It's been years since I played To the Moon, and this is a worthy sequel. If you wanted to know if this was better, I'd say no, but it doesn't change the fact that this was a special experience that myself and many others will never forget. I recommend this game for those who've played To the Moon, and especially a bird story, and to those who enjoy a great soundtrack and a story-focused game with little to no gameplay. I absolutely adored Finding Paradise, and I thank Vanguard and the rest of the team for creating such a marvelous game. They've created such astonishing art that connects with many people. I would give this game a score of around 9 out of 10. Well, that about wraps up this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.